Well, for all your hashtag Save Fairy Creek friends and family, good job. This video today will be pieced. I'll put it together over the next hour or so here. I'm just in my backyard, hanging out on the unceded territory of the Silks people, badasses from West Bank, and I'm so grateful to be home, not sitting in a cell, concrete, little toilet, bright lights. That's what I hear. And made it home safe the other night, Monday morning around just a little after 3 o'clock, and went to work first thing in the morning because that's the way we do things around here. And today, Wednesday, is September 29th. It's a day off for me, and it's another special day. It's the matriarch of our family, Mary O'Grady, my grandma. It would have been her birthday today, and love her to pieces. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Well, it is the reason why I'm here. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So before we get started, and I tell you the full version of the arrest, I think it's important that I tell you a little bit about myself. And I'm wearing an orange shirt today for two reasons. One, it's my Irish heritage from my flag. As an Irish citizen, and it's also today for me to support our Indigenous people in this land, to honor all the Indigenous children that were found. My hand's starting to shake just talking about it. Have been found recently and been known about for since it started happening, and now it's just coming out that where they are and how many there are. And currently there's over 6,000 children that have been found, and unfortunately there's many more. And I will wear orange always to honor my Indigenous family, my friends. If you don't want to listen about who I am and where I've come from, just scroll over, get to the good stuff. I should have put in the notes what minute you should be able to scroll down to. I'm here to talk about Fairy Creek and why it's so important to me, and some of my views about it, and how I got here and how I got over there and back again. I have to tell you how important my family is to me. It's what it's all about. My parents are both of Irish background, and I honor today the McCabes, and from my dad's mum, the Macquarie, and of course from my mum and the O'Gradys and the Andersons. Sending you all lots of love. I honor all my aunts and uncles and cousins all around the world, my brothers and sisters, my nieces and their family, how much I love them, my wife and our children, and my new Fairy Creek family. My mom is my inspiration in this life, in this world, and I love her more than anything. I've had an amazing opportunity in my lifetime to become part of other families. For my first wife with Cam and her family, shaking's going on again. And I've also, about 22 years ago, I was one of my best friends, Robert Ballantyne, brought me up to his community and his family and his mom and sister adopted me and another good friend of mine, George. So we became family. We became friends, even more so. And I just want to honor that as well. So here I am with, at home, wife, kids, dog, big dog, and a little dog. And I've just tell you a little bit about why I ended up at Fairy Creek. So before Nikki and I got married in May, I decided that I wanted to go out. I'd heard about this protest that was happening, trying to protect the last old growth forests. And I'm thinking, how in BC? Everywhere you look, there's trees, there's forests everywhere. How could there be the less than 3% of our old growth, and that they're trying to save it? Like, it doesn't make sense. BC's like the environment capital of the world. Nope, they're not. Everything here has been replanted. All the trees, all the forests. If it's not in those 3% of old growth forest, or in that zone, it's all tree farming, which is absolutely unbelievable. So when we're having such a crisis about the heat here and all the trees and forests burning up, there are tree farms burning. The old growth forests, they know how to deal with things and handle stuff. And that's not what's burning down right now. That's not what's causing all this problem out here. British Columbia during the summer burnt like crazy. And it's no wonder. With such an environmental crisis going on, the whole world, that's all they're talking about. Our election, this just happened. That's like the number one thing, maybe number two thing on the list of importance of what's happening in this country. But yet here we are with our government, our police force, our industry, all willing to just chop the best of the forest down. The most important part of our environment and our trees, and they're still allowing allocation and to just destroy these beautiful beings, these beautiful forests, these beautiful trees. So when I think about the environmental crisis and people trying to support it, and I always think of like David Suzuki, who I met years ago when Liam was just a baby and Cam and I were on the beach. And always really proud of that guy. And maybe he's doing good stuff, but I'm like, if you ain't at Fairy Creek, if you ain't help protecting those trees, if you're not standing there going, fuck, quit cutting the trees down, then you're not an environmentalist. Not at all. I don't care who you are, where you've been. If you're not there standing up for those beauties, you're not sticking up for the environment. You're just part of the problem, and blah, blah, blah. So before Nikki and I got married, Kane was like, Dad, let's do a father-son thing. Let's go out and, just go out in the bush somewhere. Let's go have some fun. Let's do some hiking. BC, hiking, trees. And I'm like, hey, let's go to Vancouver Island. It's one of my favorite places on this planet. And let's go to Fairy Creek and check out what's going on at this protest and this blockade. I really want to do that. And he goes, Dad, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I got work. I got responsibilities. There's no way I'm going. And he looks at me and goes, oh, too bad, so sad. I got none of those responsibilities. I'm out of here. I'm like, damn, what, really? 2 days later, he's gone. Now I'm worried about him because that's what I got to do. Got to worry about family. Got to worry about the kids. And he's out there. And just before he left, I'm like, because of course there's no cell service out there, and Port Renfrew. And I go, we're getting married May 20th. You better be here. You better be here. And yeah, he was here. He made her back in time. And then so that's 5 months now, he's been back and forth. Usually he stays out there, but he's had a few other things going on as well. I've been really proud of him, really proud of encouraging others to come together, to be friends, to care about what's happening in our province and in our country. So Kane is out, goes back to Fairy Creek, and Nikki and I are like, well, we had a honeymoon planned, and what do? Off to Fairy Creek. So here we are spending our honeymoon up in Fairy Creek, and this is pre the injunction where Teal Jones was given the rights to continue with assistance. And the assistance is the RCMP were able to come in and help support them to protect them from the protesters and remove them and get them back to work. So we're out there, and it's pretty fun. Like, I'm amazed at the group of people that are there. They're young, they're old, they're from all walks of life, all colors, all genders, and I'm like, these guys got it going on. Like, we were there not even 24 hours, and our family is on a bridge. We're locked into a blockade on a bridge. So we took over a bridge for the day, and only for a day. We were threatened with arrest, and lots of RCMP and lots of angry loggers unfortunately weren't able to get to work that day. And anyways, it all ended really nice and peaceful. But what I found out was there's a community of people, and mostly young people, that were so dedicated and skilled in communication, in building, in just figuring shit out. And they always did it together. So here, our family shows up. We're just there to help and support. And they always got our opinion. You know, if there was something that they figured we could help with, we helped. And they always asked. And if there's something we didn't want to do, even if it was a group decision, they're like, you make up your own mind. You got to do your own thing. And that's what I learned so much about the movement at Fairy Creek. There's such a wide range of people that have come together, and although they have their differences and they go through their ups and downs of trying to organize and who really gets to say what, and I don't know all the details there. I'm sure it's a little difficult sometimes, but at the core of it, there's just an amazing group of people that are willing to put their well, let's say lives, put their bodies in front of industry to stop our trees from being destroyed, to stop our forests from being wrecked. So I can tell you about all the destruction that's gone on and how they've tried to prevent the industry from going in, and how the RCMP have gone in and just brutalized them. Initially, it started off pretty calmly. They did things by the book. They were always communicating with the protesters, and even though they were taking them out of blockades, they were doing it in a less dangerous way. And as it's gotten to the end of the injunction, so there was a 3-month injunction that one of the judges in Nanaimo offered, I think it was in Nanaimo, offered to, that was given to Teal Jones so that they could continue logging in this area and to get the police help. The judge had offered them an injunction to give them the 3 months. Well, as the 3 months was ending or getting near, the police are coming in harder and harder and more aggressive, and to extract a protester that maybe normally took 4 hours, they were doing it in 40 minutes. They're using all sorts of means and just super dangerous and aggressive. They weren't giving the protesters their name, their badge number. They were hiding it. They have a little blue line on their uniforms, which represents I've heard a couple different things. One from the RCMP that it represents the fallen RCMP of the past, and others I've heard that it represents more a right-wing colonial, maybe as far as white supremacy. Anyways, I don't quite understand that, but I do know that not all of them are wearing it, and the ones that do typically are a lot more aggressive, and aggressive with the BIPOC people. So the Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And I could sit here and say, this till I'm blue in the face. You agree with it, you don't agree with it. What I did was I went out there and I saw it firsthand. My son's been out there for 5 months and he's watched it happen time and time again. And that's how I figure that out. So we're out on the island. We're doing our little protest. It all gets cleaned up and, we all clear from the bridge. And basically a couple days later, after hanging out at the in the forest and seeing some of the larger trees and hiking through the bush, we went home. And then we went back again. And it was after the police presence, and we just kind of just stayed back in the background a lot more. We weren't really getting out in front of them and seeing what was going on. We just went out there to be with the trees and be in the forest, and it's just like, it's so amazing. I can't tell you how freaking amazing it is, because it's incredible. And the only way you're ever going to know is get your ass out there. Because there's been some recent news yesterday that will be, which I'm so excited about. However, do I think for a minute that 3% of old growth forest isn't going to get cut down? I'm skeptical. I would believe that they're going to get to it one way or another. They're just relentless. They've got the money, they've got the backing. The only way that it's going to stop is if the people say, fuck you. That's the only way. The people are the only ones that are going to stop it from happening, because they've got everything else. And what I mean by everything else, well, the government, we've got the NDP government, John Horgan. The man has stood for, since he started politics, all about the environment and protecting our resources. And here's the guy leading the way and telling the Fairy Creekers, the only people that I can tell that are really sticking up for the environment here in this province, and he's the one that's saying, get off the land. You guys are a bunch of losers, a bunch of doofuses, get back to work, and get off that territory. Well, yeah. Anyways, so there you got our government. That's what they think. And then you got the officials, the people that are policing what's going on, and they're smashing the protesters, whether they want to or not. It doesn't even matter. Here they are, smashing these young people, old people, arresting people. I know, I was one of them. And with completely unlawful. They're illegal arrests. Almost all of them are completely illegal. I know mine was. And I've always been a conflict of interest person. If you're of a conflict of interest, and especially when there's finances, money going around, and you're sitting on a board that has, you can make a decision based on your own self-interest and being taken advantage of something, especially financially, that's when you abstain and you sit back. Well, no, not around here. That's not the way it works. Man, if you can make a decision and you can line your pockets, I think that's the way it's done around this province, at least up in the government and through our officials. So the RCMP, their investment funds, get a hold of this. 2018 or 2019, they purchase a huge amount. They put a whole bunch of money into the forest industry. And it's a company that's based solely on the coast. So not even in the interior of BC. They're not chopping wood down there. They're chopping wood on the coast. Vancouver Island and the coast of BC, up in Haida Gwaii. That's who our cops have their investment funds in. Well, okay, maybe a little conflict of interest when you're trying to beat up Fairy Creek little guys and girls, and they're the ones stopping you from your investment portfolio from making money. Anyways, what do you say about that? Could they be doing it honorably anyways, and it has no effect on them? Sure it can, but it's just too ridiculous. Then you get our previous forest industry, I can't remember what they're called, the forest guy that's taking care of things in the government. He goes to court with this same, the company, the forest industry company that the police have their money into. They go to court together. They're being sued with another gentleman. He's an ex-HA member, and I don't know if you can ever be an ex-HA member, maybe once you've been in the ground 6 feet, but anyways. So you got the police, a government official, big industry, and our government all working together on the same team. Oh, did I say the HA? Yeah, those guys too. So they're all in there. And I haven't heard what's come of the court case, but it was in Nanaimo just a few weeks ago. Now, back to court cases. There was an injunction that I talked about earlier. And an injunction is to allow that the Teal Jones industry to go in and still continue working with support from our police officials. And this is the reason why I went out to, why I went back to Fairy Creek just recently, is the Judge Thompson, who was to make the decision whether he was going to extend the injunction or not. They've asked for another year, so not 3 months, but a whole year injunction to continue and get support from the police. He postponed his announcement, and he said there was just too much information and too much stuff that he had to take into account. He had watched all the videos, or lots of videos, about the police brutality and violence and the thin blue line, and the police not giving their name or badge number, doing things that were unlawful. And so he's taken all this stuff into consideration, and he postpones his announcement. And the injunction was supposed to be on Sunday, that it was over. And so we went out on Friday, and just to support all the people out there in the best way that we can. I really believed that the Judge Thompson was not going to be in favor of Fairy Creek. I've just been so skeptical. And anyways, I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So the only thing I really didn't touch is that the trees are on unceded Pacheedaht First Nations territory. And, I don't know how much of even a right that I have to talk about it, because my understanding of it is a little bit narrow. But if I was to say what I'm seeing from the periphery, I see a colonized abandoned council that is in favor of industry and following the government rules and responsibilities, or rules and regulations, and they're not looking at the people in their community the same way as maybe what they should be. But that's just my opinion. I do know that there's just so many numbers floating out there of how much they get as a piece of the pie. Because this lumber is on their territory, they get a percentage. So basically, the way I understand it is they get to auction off the rights to log these areas. And Teal Jones, in their statement, said that it was like that the money that they would earn from the logs that they were going to be cutting down in around Fairy Creek was around $15 million, and then the stumpage would be about $5 million. And so they're earning around $20 million. And that the Pacheedaht people were getting, it's something like $80,000. And I'm like, what person gives anybody the ability to make $20 million only so you could earn $80,000? And then you hear numbers like overall in the territory, not just that Fairy Creek area, that there's $300 million worth of trees, and that the Pacheedaht people would earn $2 to $3 million. So the numbers just don't add up. Who gives $300 million worth of their most beautiful land that they're protecting, that they've protected forever? What? They're giving this away, and they're earning $300 million, and they're only going to get a couple million? They have to be that desperate, and to even imagine that that's how they could do that. It doesn't even make sense. So here I am. I'm going, I got to get my ass out there. I got to see what's going on. I watched the videos of the police bashing these people, taking face masks, eyewear off of people, and then spraying them right in the face, spraying them in the eyes, and then dragging them out of whoever they're with and smashing them, like knee to the back, elbow to the back of the head. And these people are not fighting back. They're lying face down on the ground. They're putting their arms behind their back, like, except for they're screaming because their faces has been pepper sprayed. I have no idea what that feels like. It doesn't look good. Oh, and you know what else they're doing? They feel it's necessary to not only spray people's faces, but then they spray their genitals, because that ain't gonna feel good. I think of like A535 back in the day, and you put some on your leg, and if it gets in the wrong spot, damn, that doesn't feel good. So my next part of the video here, I'm gonna head down to just behind my house and tell you about my journey to Fairy Creek this last time. So, just a few minutes later, new location, new shirt. The white part of my flag is the peaceful part. So in honor of the peaceful protests that have been going on at Fairy Creek. And that's how I end up out there. If it wasn't peaceful, and if it weren't people that were strongly dedicated to providing that type of support and not being angry, there's no way it could work for me. I get too much Irish blood in me, and I get too frustrated, and I get too angry. So the only way that I can manage it and go out there is being peaceful. The Pacheedaht First Nations people, Elder Bill Jones, who is the elder in charge and assisting, as well as there's a Chief Victor and family of Elder Bill Jones, that's invited us and all Fairy Creek blockaders out to his territory to help support him and his family and his community to prevent the old growth forests from being decimated, cut down, taken advantage of, destroyed. So Kane and I, we're like, Friday, we're going. We get up in the morning, do a little bit of ceremony, put some tobacco down for a safe journey. We ask all of our spiritual helpers and friends to watch us on our way, keep us safe, and help provide the best opportunities to see what's going on and to offer our support in the best way that we can. So we have a beautiful drive, the two of us out to Vancouver Island, over the ferry. We're just talking about one of the people that, one of the blockaders, and how such an amazing, talented person he is, and how supportive he was when we were on our first blockade on the bridge. And the bridge that was supporting the Caicous Valley and its forest. By the way, the people of Caicous that were protesting were all extracted from that area of the valley by police. And that's why we were actually on the bridge, was to basically as a memorial, because within 5 days after that, they went in and clear cut the entire area of the Keikoos that they were trying to protect. Anyways, I digress because it's a lot of shit going on. And so we're on Vancouver Island. We're talking about this guy and just amazing person he is. And we get out to the Fairy Creek area, and we're amazed because, of course, now all the police have moved every camp that's up this mountain. So hundreds of people have been displaced from their camps. They've been dragged out. The camps have been destroyed. All their kitchens. I talked with one of the cooks. Her name is Cookie. Lovely woman, pottery gal. And she, like, amazing people, and her kitchen's just destroyed. Like, they just hammered the crap out of everything. Although they did keep some things because they're using some of the space. Like, they're using some of the camps that have been destroyed, and they get to use some of the supplies that they had up there, the RCs. Yeah. So we get out there, and sure enough, the first two people we run into are one of the guys that we're talking about. And he was just getting out there. We're probably driving behind him, and he is like, yeah, I think my brother and I are heading up to, up the mountain, see what happens. No expectations, blah, blah, blah. But he tells us that the RCs are at the bottom of the hill, so you can't go up the road unless you give them your ID and they check your bags, which he wasn't willing to do. And I'm like, well, I can't trudge through the bush and worry about like trying to hide or go in and out of the bush. I'm barely gonna make it up if I go anyways. I'm a little concerned. If I go up, I'm gonna roll down. So, hey Mango. So anyways, we decide we're gonna go. We're heading up the mountain. We get our bags packed. Kane's got a 50-pound bag. I got about a 4-pound bag, and we're about the same weight now. So I think it's even. We get to the base of the logging road that's going to take us up to the areas that we want to go to, and the old growth forest trees. And a place called River Camp is one of the areas that we wanted to get to maybe set up camp for the night. Well, camp was the sleeping bag. We didn't have much gear with us. So sure enough, we get to the front. There's 8 RCs, 8 officers there. 8. 2 are at the gate to let us in. And the only way they're going to let us in, of course, we had to give them our ID. And they went through everything in our bags. Everything. And I'm like, well, this is just like going over the border. And he says, oh, those guys have lots of power. They can do whatever they want at the border. And I'm like, it's the same thing you're doing right now. You've like just destroyed all our stuff. And but you did it with a smile on your face. That was nice. Anyways, we get out of that 15, 20 minutes later. We start hiking up the mountain and run into the first RC truck coming down. And they didn't say anything because there was 2 campers in front of them, or 2 hikers, and they were walking down, and they said they followed them the whole way. Bright lights on, and then they would like stop behind them really fast and kind of like skid their tires on the gravel. Because these roads are rough. Like, they are logging roads, and they are nasty. So anyways, there's the first RC truck. The 2 hikers continued on. I don't know if they were protesters or they were just in the area, whatever their deal is. Just a young guy and a girl. And so we keep going on. And here's the deal. We're climbing up this mountain, so we probably have to go about 10 kilometers. At the 7-kilometer mark-ish is where River Camp is. On the way there, this takes us about 4 hours to get to the night where we stop. And it takes 4 hours. It would probably take 4 hours for people to get to the top. But old guy me is going so slow. And within this time of our camp, we've got 5 RC trucks in a 5-kilometer range that they're going up and down. They're just circling every 10 minutes, checking the area. Well, the only two people that they know of are the two people that are going down, but the only two people they know of are Kane and I going up the mountain. They call us the father-son duo. And so they know who we are, they know our names, they pretty much know everything about us, and they stop us every time. Who are you? What are you doing? I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Anyways, time to change your shirt. Okay, well, I'll speak a little louder because the water still here in my backyard. And yeah, I had to switch the shirt to the green colors. It's a little more feisty, a little less peaceful. And as I'm walking up the mountain, blood's boiling a bit. Well, at least that pounding in my head. I'm not sure if it's the blood pressure from walking or I'm just frustrated seeing all the enforcement and just the way we were treated. So we get up to an area called Red Dress, and that's where the people of Prairie Creek have put up hundreds of red dresses in a cut block area of trees. It's just ominous to watch, to see this. It's probably about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and the beautiful moon, the stars are out. It's a beautiful temperature, and yeah, I was almost shocked when I'd seen it in person. I've seen videos and I've seen pictures of them, but never like that. And it's in regards to the missing Indigenous women that have been. It's just been devastating to see how many First Nations women, Indigenous women have gone missing and murdered over the number of years, and nothing really gets done about it. It's all part of the Truth and Reconciliation, which it's kind of like environmentalists, not people that are really standing up for what they believe in. It's Truth and Reconciliation, to me, is a bunch of bullshit, because it's all about acknowledging what's happened, but then we don't have to do anything about it. Well, that's not what I believe in. I'm always a person of action. It doesn't matter what's going on, and that's why I'm wearing my green colors, my Irish colors, but also my Saskatchewan colors. I know I was born in Manitoba, and I don't have any of the brown and the yellow and the white on, but once you're a Rider fan, you're always a Rider fan. I grew up in Regina and have some wonderful, beautiful friends from there and friendships that I'll never forget. And we're always a tough group of people that like to see action and not talk so much. Anyways, but I am talking a lot. So we get to the Red Dress. RC shows up behind us about 50 meters back. Then he comes up to about 30 meters and keeps his brights on and isn't going anywhere. So instead of driving by us and saying, hey, who are you? You know, you're the father-son duo. But no, they just stayed behind us. So old man McCabe here needed a little break. I'm like, Kane, let's just wait him out, sit down, take a break. An hour later, they're still sitting there. 2 other trucks go by the opposite direction. So they're missing their turn and finding out, no, they want to stay right with us. So an hour goes by. I think my dog's gone. An hour goes by, and we're like, okay. So we go back, talk to them, and they're like, blah, 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 same old stuff. And they're like, do you have to follow us? Like, what's the deal? And he's like, oh, it's our responsibility to keep you safe. Like, who the hell do these people think they are? Keep me safe? Get the fuck out of here. Get lost, buddy. And so anyways, I gave him a little like, oh, come on. My kid and I were out here camping. We're out for a hike. The last thing we need is someone following us with the brights on us. And he said, no, we're going to follow you. It's our section, and nobody's getting through here without us knowing where they are. So I'm like, whatever. We started walking, and fortunately they did keep their distance. So instead of 50, they would wait till we went around a corner, and then they would come up to that corner and then wait for us to go around the next one. So a little frustrating, but at least we were able to enjoy that time. Then we get up to then we get up to River Camp, that's where we wanted to stop. unbeknownst to us, there's a camp there, RCs. They've got a fire. They're using the equipment that's around. It looks like they've got some benches that have maybe been there previously, some shelves. Oh yeah, it's like wonderful. They destroyed only the stuff they didn't want to use. Smart, I guess. Anyways, we're walking through that. Nobody says anything to us until finally Buddy says, oh, you guys are packing pretty light. And we don't say anything. We just keep walking. And then he goes, yeah, you're probably using the same sleeping bag. I'm like, no comment. Just keep on walking, Corbett. Just keep on walking. So about a kilometer later, I'm like, Kane, we got to stop. If I walk another 20 feet, I'm not going to get off this road. So we look through the bush and we find this old growth tree. It's massive. It's just incredible. And for whatever reason, it's one of those trees they just kept and they didn't cut her down. So my shoulder's getting really sore. Actually, I can't even believe that I was able to hold up this phone as long as I have. And anyways, so we slept under the stars, right on top of the roots of this big old growth tree. I don't even know how I got any sleep, how I didn't wake up with aches and pains, because we weren't on anything level. And anyways, beautiful night. Temperature stayed warm. It was awesome. I got some rest. 9 o'clock in the morning, we head out again. Start up the mountain, and you could hear these trucks coming up behind us. And I'm like, holy smokes, they're coming fast. Anyways, I stand in the middle of the road. That's why the green's on. I stand in the middle of the road. The two trucks are coming at us, unmarked trucks. Maybe industry, maybe cops, who knows. Anyways, they get close, stop in front of us, and these guys don't look happy. And I got my hands out, like, whoa, hey, like, gotta stop here. And Kane's like, cops, Dad. I'm like, shit. So I pull off the side of the road. They come up to me, and they're the green guys. And you don't mess with the green guys. The RCs in the blue, you can have a discussion with them. These guys, yes, sir, no, sir, nothing, sir, because they is nasty. So Buddy gives me a lecture about standing on the road, why I'm on the road, wants to know why I would do that. I'm like, well, I'm just looking for my friends. Maybe some of my family would understand that. And yeah, anyways, said you're gonna get killed on this road. So off they took. They took off. We started walking back up. We get to the top of the mountain where we want to get to, and helicopter rolls in. So actually, a helicopter rolled out a few minutes before that, and it looked like the industry helicopter. So they dropped their industry guys, so two guys with chainsaws in the bush at the top of the mountain in this big gully. And then what happens is the protesters, I believe this is what's going on, they come out and they let themselves be known once the people have landed, the workers have landed, so then they can't cut in that area. And then of course then they have to hike out instead of being hauled out, because they're not able to land now in the area where the protesters are. So I don't know if that's going on, but I found out the next day that's what it from a person that was down there, that's what was happening. Well, so we're there. We can see the helicopter. He's announcing to the people below that they're in the injunction zone and that they'll be arrested. And then they fly away. Super impressive driving. Whoever this pilot is like, wow, he was incredible. He stopped in the middle, in between the around this area of trees, and I'm like, yeah, I was impressed. That's about the only thing I was impressed with from them. And then we kept hiking a little bit farther so we could see a little bit better, but we're still probably about half a kilometer away from the workers, and then there's 4 RCMP down with the workers, and so those are the only people we can see. So we can see 6 people, 2 workers, industry, and 4 RCMP, 2 green guys, 2 blue guys. And above where we are, the same road that comes around the gully and around to the other side, there's 4 other RCMP trucks. So there's anywhere between 30 and 50 RCMP on that side of the mountain during this time. 30 to 50 that they're supporting and paying to be there, and they're doing it around the clock. So in the evening, I would say there were 25 RCMP, and during the day, they probably double that. So they're paying for 75 RCMP to be in Fairy Creek, and they have a camp and they do all their things wherever they are. And yeah, so we go next to an RCMP truck, maybe 25, 30 meters away. And we sit down on a stump and we're watching. We can't see any protesters, but we can see the RCMP and the industry guys. And they're not doing anything. It's just kind of weird. They're kind of talking, it looks like. And then the RCMP across from us see us, I'm assuming, and they come over to talk to the RCMP guy beside us and tell him that we're there. And sure enough, once he's made aware of it, all 4 officers get out. They walk over to us. Kane and I are just sitting there having lunch. Backpacks are on the ground. And guy comes up to us and says, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, we just hiked up here. We're camping. We spent the night here on the mountain last night, and we're having lunch and some water. What are you doing?" And he's like, "That's none of your business." I'm like, "Well, are you here to save those guys down there?" He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, those guys in the orange vests. They're workers. Are they in trouble? I see there's 4 cops right around them. It's like pretty exciting." And I said, "Are you guys here to try and save them?" I don't know if he quite caught on to the sarcasm yet. And then he goes, "No, they're not a problem. You're the problem." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "You're in the exclusion zone. You got 5 seconds to get off out of the, start walking, or you're under arrest." I'm like, holy shit. Well, I didn't say that. I was thinking, holy shit, this guy's for real. He's not joking around. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, I have to say. I'm exhausted. I think I've done more kilometers of hiking in the last 10 hours than I have in the last year. Well, it's true, but anyways. So I'm like, I know inside I can't go anywhere. So I say to him, "Well, where's the exclusion zone? How far do I have to go? Because I could manage if it's just 100 meters away from the action." And the action is down like it's a half a kilometer away. So there's no way the exclusion zone. It's illegal. It's already illegal that he's saying I'm in the exclusion zone. And but I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to cause trouble, but I know that I'm in an area where I could be causing trouble. So I know the risks of it. So anyways, I ask him, "Where do I have to go?" He says, "You know that 2-kilometer sign down there?" I'm like, "Well, I saw some signs, but okay, yeah." He goes, "That's where you got to go." I go, "Well, how far is that?" He says, "It's halfway down the mountain." So about 5 kilometers. I go, you're telling me the exclusion zone is 5 kilometers away from here, and that's how far I have to go. "You got 3 seconds or you're under arrest," he says. And I'm like, fuck. So I look down, I look over at Kane. He's just sitting there like, "Big deal, Dad." And I look at the other 3 officers. I look back up at Buddy there, the one in charge, who's not giving me his name. There's no badge number on him. You got the thin blue line. I'm like, "Buddy, I can tell you, I ain't going anywhere." And he's like, "You're under arrest." And he comes over. I'm sitting on the bench. I got my, my lunch. I probably got a sandwich in my hand or something. Buddy grabs my arm, yanks me up to my feet, takes my arm, puts it behind my back, throws the cuff on. And when he puts the cuff on, I know some if you've never been arrested before, and I hadn't been, I'm like, you hear about things, and you hear about pain tolerance or pain, not perception. That's like, those are massage words. Pain, where we're trying to get you to do something, but using pain. So he's clamped the first one on really tight. And I recognize it and go, holy shit. he's on both my radial nerve and my ulnar nerve, which I just happen to know where those are. And the nerve that like immediately is going into my little finger and into my thumb. And I'm like, shit. So I'm not saying anything. I bring my other hand back around quickly so he doesn't grab it, and put it together with my other one, and he clamps that on a little gentler this time. And he's just talking like I don't even know what he's saying. You should have been listening to me. You should have listened when I first told you to get going. And I'm like, holy smokes. I'm still not saying anything. He's still kind of blabbering about things. And Kane's still sitting there. The other 3 RCMP are just watching what's going on. And Buddy, I'm noticing as he's holding on, now both hands are cuffed behind my back. And I'm noticing Buddy's holding on to my arm. But he's shaking like a leaf. And I'm like, I'm calm as heck. Like, I don't give a crap. And I think, too, I'm like, is it because I'm really not scared or worried? Or I'm so exhausted from the hike, I can't figure out which one it is, that I'm like, I can't even be upset about what's going on. Anyways, Buddy's shaking like crazy. His adrenaline's just through the roof. Either that or he's got Parkinson's. And so he's just shaking. And I go, well... and then Kane goes, and before I get a chance to do that, Kane goes, well, can I at least video? And he looks at Kane, he goes, no, and you're under arrest. Get his phone. Because Kane, of course, brings his phone out. And I'm like, oh, man, what the heck? So the two of us are standing there, side by side in handcuffs, on the top of a mountain with 4 cops, going, we're not in a really good situation, are we? So I says to Buddy, I go, I would have, I got to switch arms. My shoulder is really pretty messed up here, right at the acromioclavicular ligament. And Buddy's like, I go, Buddy, like, I would have, because I don't know his name. I can't call him, Officer Jerusalem. I don't know who to call him. Like, it's like, what the heck? So I say, Buddy, I would have walked. It's too late for that. You should have walked when I told you. I said, no. I said, I would have walked. I couldn't. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I wasn't going anywhere. I'm an old man. I said, and I'm out of shape. So there's no way I'm walking back down that mountain. So I want to ride. So you can arrest me and give me a ride down the end of the mountain, because I know that's what you're doing anyways. It's catch and release, buddy. I didn't say the catch and release stuff. I don't want to piss this guy off. So he goes, oh, just a second. So he walks away, makes a radio call. So he radios a truck to come back up here. And then he starts talking to me, and I'm trying to tell him. He goes, well, why didn't you just listen in the first place? And I said, well, because I really wasn't going anywhere. I said, I'm not part of the protest. I'm not a protester here. I'm not protesting anything, but I am supporting them. I'm for them. I'm not for you guys here supporting the industry to cut down the trees. I said, but I'm not doing anything wrong here. Nothing's illegal. But this is illegal. What you're doing right now is illegal. So he's just totally ignoring me. I'm trying to say a few things, and nicely as I possibly can. And then he says, well, you got to go sit over here on this bench behind us, or this log. So he didn't want us to see still what was going on down there. And then you could hear the chainsaws coming up. And I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, do you guys care that that's what's going on? Do you care that they're chopping those trees down right now? That's why we're here. We're here because we care, and we don't want you to support them to chop these trees down. We want it to stop. We want it to end. That's what we're here for. And he says, you got to sit down. I'm like, okay. And he kind of was like, almost like he was listening to us, like as if he's on our team. And I'm like, all right. I said, well, before I sit down, do you mind like fixing my cuff? Because you got me good. And he goes, oh, well, let me see that. And he turns my wrist around. Well, it took the pressure all the way off. So he had my arm rotated the wrong way and then locked me up, which not very nice. But it's what it is, right? I get it. And anyways, so then I said, oh, that's better, thanks. he goes, I can do better than that. So he takes it off, puts it on properly. And now I'm cuffed behind me. Kane's fine. I'm fine. We're sitting there just waiting for them to tell us what we're doing. And so he still hasn't said anything really about what's going on, other than he starts talking about some taxes and how it's privileged for him to pay taxes so that we can enforce this kind of and restrict these kind of behaviors that are going on here. And I'm like, wow. Like, I want to ride, man. I don't really care what you have to say. And then he goes, this is the best. This is, I know he's struggling internally with what he's doing. And he says to me, if someone's breaking into your house, who are you going to call? And I'm like, my family. I said, because we're going to look after each other. I said, we got a big family. If someone's breaking in, I'm yelling down to Liam. That's what I'm doing. And anyways, buddy's like, you're going to call me. You're going to call the police. And he goes, I'm going to show up at your house and I'll take a bullet for you. What the heck? Well, I don't know. Has anybody in my family ever called the frickin' police for anything? I don't think so. I'm 52 years old and I've never seen it happen, heard it happen, anything. When we got a problem, we take care of business. I've never heard of the police. I've heard of my uncles running away from the police a couple times, but I've never heard of the police coming to help us at any point in time. So anyways, buddy, truck shows up, he takes the cuffs off us, and offers Kane a water. Kane denies it. I'm like, damn, I'll take the water. And in the truck we go, and a half an hour later, we're back in ceremony with the First Nations people and the protesters at the bottom of the mountain. And and the next day, so 4 hours of protest. We're protesting now, and then and then I went to bed, slept for I don't know how many hours. Like, I think I went to bed at 6 p.m., got up at about 9 a.m. in the morning. I was exhausted. Adrenaline, being arrested, the hike, it killed me. The other part is my arm started to ache. And there it is again. Like, if I hold it a certain direction, it just kills me. So anyways, I stayed around the next day and talked to people, had breakfast, had lunch, got a little bit more information and talked to more people. And then Kane stayed out there and was helping out in whatever way, capacity he could. He's still not able to go into that injunction zone. And I tell you, best news ever, Judge Thompson from the Nanaimo Supreme Court yesterday announced that the injunction zone was no longer in existence. He wiped it out, and some of the reasons, there's a ton of reasons why he didn't continue with the injunction, and I would have bet anything on the fact that it was going to continue, but he stopped it, which means the RCMP have to get off the mountain, and they're no longer able to protect industry in that way and stop the protesters the way they've been doing it. And some of the reasons why that he stated in his argument is that the police are such an embarrassment to the court that they're using the court as a way to say, this is why we're treating you the way we are. This is why we're treating the BIPOC and the LGBTQ plus community the way we are. We're brutalizing you, we're singling you out, we're hunting you down, and we're kicking your ass. And then we're doing it, and their film is on, and people are watching, and we don't give a shit. And the courts were embarrassed that that's what they're doing. So, F them. There we go. And thank you, Judge Thompson, for your care and your concern and your compassion, and allowing the protesting to continue peacefully. So, sending my family lots of love. Mango, come on, buddy. Got to get that dog back over here. Anyways, love everybody. Sorry this took forever, but I just had to share so much information. And all the love to my family, my mom, the McCabes, the O'Grady's, the Macris, the Andersons, the Ballantynes, my Sundance family, my Fairy Creek family, my Cam's family, my family. I just love you guys. For Nikki and all my kids, all my relations. Aho, ekose. Love ya.